All right, y'all. I don't know who all missed what, but let me go ahead and do this and get this out of my way. All right, y'all. Adverse childhood experience, which is the ACE. Again, if your kids are around and they 13, 14, they old enough to listen to this information too, because it gives you an opportunity to have conversations with your children that at one point they may not have been comfortable discussing with a parent. So just learning the ways to get our kids to come and communicate with us, to let them know, no, baby, we here. We here. You got a team of support. It's okay to feel that way, but I want you to know that your thoughts are just a feeling, but there's no facts to that. You got family and friends that love you. So I'm asking you all to be honest with yourself about what happened or didn't happen during your childhood, because you matter. You matter. You matter. You don't have to suffer in silence. Please don't suffer in silence. So what is the ACE? I don't know if many of you all was able to make a copy of that ACE, but that ACE, what is the ACE? The ACE is a 10-question assessment that was developed by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, Kaiser Permanente. It is a validated, accessible screening tool that can be used for early detection of common childhood trauma. So this is what I do not practice or see a client if I don't do the ACE and a DS-21. I can't help you. We can't get to the root that really got you to the state that you're in, that you got to come seek me for help. So that 10 questionnaire there with that ACE, how we look at that is, if any of that you witness, hear me when I say this, if you witness this between the ages of 0 to 18 years old, if you witness any of these, you're only going to put a mark in the one that apply to you. If it doesn't apply to you, that's fine. But it's important that you know your score. It's very important that you know your score. So you go and you hit whichever one applied to you. A person in your household often or very often acted in a way that made the child afraid that they would be physically hurt. You know, being honest, I'm going to read the questions that I have before me that I sent you all that we used actually in the field. Did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect you or take care of you? There are children experiencing this. We know that. If you educators, you got babies coming to school that's hungry. So that automatically give them a 1 on the ACE. Then you go to the second one. Did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, death, or other reason? Mom and daddy wasn't married, so you in the house with mama, or you in the house with maybe dad, or you in the house with a grandparent, but both parents still living. That means there's a 1 go right there. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It's time for us to acknowledge what happened and didn't happen in our life when we was children, okay? So then that third one, did you live with anyone who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted suicide? See, those are things that we have to be honest about. In the African-American community, I can remember my grandmother had a brother. I don't know if it was a brother, probably was, but the brother had another brother living with him and he stayed in the back room. We just knew not to go back there to that back room. So it's like a lot of silence, but here again, during that time, our people did what they knew. But when we know better, not only should we do better, but we should actively be intentional about practicing doing the things that we've been awakened to. And then we alleviate the blame. We have to alleviate the blame. Did you live with anyone who had a problem with drinking or using drugs, including prescription drugs? See, we think it's funny because we sit in the house and we can kick back 4, 5, 6 beers every day in front of the kids. We just gave our kids permission. Yep, that's a lot of drinking. That's not social drinking. That's a lot of drinking. You smoking every week, that's a lot of smoking. So we looking at those things. Did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm you? When I give this assessment to much older adults, no, my life was good. My parents loved me. And they just keep looking at the sheet. And so I have to give them permission to say, it is okay. It is okay. That was out of your control. You was under the age of 18. But if you know that it happened, it's time for you to release that burden off of yourself, because you can't protect the adult anymore. You got to start caring for yourself. So if that took place, if you know you cursing out your kids, threatening to whoop them and do this, that, and other, okay, some people say it worked. But at the end of the day, if we think about slavery, the only way that the masters got our people on that plantation to do what they needed them to do was beat them. So what are we doing to our children? We have to start having conversations with them. I'm not talking about spanking, I'm talking about beating. And I'm talking about, when you spanking, do you have a conversation a day or so after? You just say, hey, let me explain to you why that was not safe, what you did. That word, why? We have to explain things to our children. So, did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison? If you grew up in the household, I grew up in Shady Oak, Verdish. I was exposed to a lot of that. Go ahead and hit that one over there. Did a parent or adult in your home ever swear at you? Insult you, put you down? You know, if you got cussed out, come on now, hit that one over there. Yeah, mama saved, now she loved the Lord, she go to church, she's a deaconess. Dad is a preacher now. Okay, but daddy wasn't a preacher and daddy didn't know what he know now, but that's still something that dad did before daddy got his life together. See, as adults, we have to acknowledge the things that happen to us so we can help our children, so we can keep their ACE score low. We want to do everything that we can to keep our children's ACE score low, okay? So, did you feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were special? It happens, people. It happens. That's a mark there. Did you experience unwanted sexual contact, such as fondling or an anal intercourse? If that happened to you, you don't have to be ashamed about that. You don't have to be ashamed. This is what we give the adults. It's the exact same thing that even if children, we answering it for our kids. So that's that ACE. I don't want to know anybody's score, but be honest with yourself if you want better for your children. Go ahead and hit those marks that identify to you. I'm telling you, this is a breakthrough to free yourself. Be honest. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It's nothing to be guilty about. Shame is killing a lot of us because we living with this stuff in silence. But it was nothing we can do. You 18, if your uncle touched you at 4, but now you 54, and you still harboring that, as you should. But when you gonna release yourself and give yourself permission to say, look, I was a kid. That was nothing that I could have done to protect myself from this grown person. It's time to take back our power from the people that hurt us. And sometimes people hurt us because they're not even aware that they hurting themselves, because they repeating what was done to them as if it was correct and that is normal. You know how many times I see people come to treatment and say, well, you know, everybody do that, that's normal. No, that's not normal. That's not normal. It's time for us to have a conversation. It's time for us to help save our children and help save ourselves first. So that's that one for, it's the exact same thing that we give and we don't change it. But that CWY, which is that Center for Youth Wellness, it was created to respond to the new medical understanding of how early life adversities harms the developing brains and bodies of our children. Y'all, I want y'all to really take some notes on this stuff, and hopefully you can go sit down and it's like, man, they supposed to been doing that. It was supposed to be taking place during that stage of their development. But so many of us, go sit down, you don't supposed to be doing that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Okay. So what you would do at the bottom, parents, if you got children coming home, and that's why they changed this up, because we got our babies getting bullied in the school. They ain't just getting bullied by the students now. Come on, let's be honest. We got educators in the school right now with unwell spirits abusing our children, abusing them because they not well. And they definitely abuse them when they witnessing that child get something that they didn't get when they was a child. It is hard for somebody to see somebody loving on somebody and on their kid when they go back to that little girl, 6 or 7 or 8 years old. My mama didn't love on me like that. That's what's wrong. Your mom them got you spoiled. No, my parents love me. That's love. That's not spoiled. That's love. I keep saying, be mindful of the words. I reject every time somebody tell me, girl, your kid's spoiled. No, man, my kids are loved. Look up the definition for spoiled. Anything spoiled go bad and right. I rebuke that. So my kids are loved. We don't do the spoil, we do the love. So when your kids, and you sit down and talk to your kids over that stuff, we don't tie the numbers together as clinicians. It just tells us, man, there's a lot of things that we need to make sure that this person is able to process through so they can be well as they grow. That's both of these assessments. And I'm gonna open it up after I finish going over this for y'all questions. That's why I was hoping you had pen, pencil, paper, whatever, so I can provide as much clarity as I can, because, you know, working in the criminal justice system, working with adults and children, y'all, I do all that God give me to do. I don't go outside of what he give me to do to work with the people that I'm blessed to have opportunity to work with. I want to make sure I do the work to help the people heal. I'm not a fixer and I'm not a savior. I'm a helper. There's a difference in the three. So the overview of the ACE, what makes that up? Household dysfunction, substance abuse. These are the percentages. Parental, abandonment, death, divorce. You know, some people don't think about this. If your child under the age of 15, they lost their grandmother, lost their grandfather who they was very close to, that's a one in that box for your baby. That's a one in that box, because that death of their grandmother, or even the death of an uncle or brother, that's a one for your child on the ACE. How many of us, when our kids lose their grandparents, lose their mother to anything, depression, suicide, how many actually go and get our kids the help that they need? None of us. Go right on back to life like it's just normal, because that's normal for us. That's normal, especially in the African American community. It's normal. Somebody get killed, cry for about 2-3 weeks, month, 2 months. Everybody else go back on like the death didn't even happen. Mental illness. How many of you had a mental illness, had an assessment to just see? You go to the doctor, get checked up, dentist, eye doctor. We go get all those checkups. Why we can't go get a mental assessment to make sure that we well? So if something is happening, we can get in front of it. Battered mother. How many kids grow up in the household? Well, he ain't beat me, he just cussed me out. Okay, that's abuse that your child is being exposed to. Criminal behavior. Uncles, brothers, cousin around you. Oh, Uncle Bob gone to jail. Now we paint that like that's normal. That's not normal for people to be going to jail. It's not normal. But then our children learning and seeing, oh, Uncle Bob, he went to jail. That's trauma. Kids witnessing loved ones go to jail. That's a separation from people that they love. That's no longer there, even though they locked up. That's still a separation. So the household dysfunction. Then abuse, psychological, physical, sexual. The neglect, emotional, physical. How many people barely can get out the bed because they're dealing with depression, grief. Kid coming out, mama, can we? Not right now, baby, mama tired. You cutting off emotional connection with your kid. Here's another one that a lot of people don't understand as educators. Anybody that is in a position of leadership that has influence over little human, if you keep shedding them out, go out of here, go be quiet. You hindering that baby's and that child's emotional healthy development. Come on, y'all, we got to do better. Physical abuse. Black people, that's what we do. We got whoopings. No, that's what the slave master taught our people how to stay in the lane that they put us in. See, we have to break that cycle of thinking that is detrimental to our population. Okay? Then racism, bullying, homelessness, foster care, involvement with juvenile justice system, surviving and or recovering from a severe accident. You know, my 3 nephews was in a bad accident back in June. That's some trauma that they dealing with. 2 of them was already layered with trauma because their mom was murdered. Then they have another layer of trauma because why? They had a cousin to complete suicide. They had an auntie to complete suicide. So this is the stuff that our children are being exposed to. Dominique, can you mute whoever that is? Our children are being exposed to this. So we can't just, well, they'll get the feeling better. But physically, they may be feeling well. But psychologically, are they well? Emotionally, are they well? You know, when people ask, well, how your nephew's doing? You know, physically, they recovering pretty good, but it's tough on them right now with their emotional being and their psychological being. But, you know, we doing what we can to love on them. Talk through this stuff. Talk to other people about it. So that's what make up our ACE. So know your score. Why is it important to know your score? Our relationships and experiences, even those in childhood, can affect our health and well-being. Difficult childhood experiences are very common. That's a fact. None of us can escape that, period. Some of us want to deny it and say, oh, I'm a 0 on the ACE. You fooling yourself. Experiences, you know, basically, we just fooling ourselves. We got to admit our experiences. Experiences in childhood are just one part of a person's narrative, just one part. There are many ways to heal throughout one's life. Start your healing by knowing your score. The higher the score, greater the risk. The higher the score, the greater the risk. Let me make sure I break this apart, because when I did this in training, they asked the question, well, do the score determine the severity of it? No. You can have a 1 on the ACE, and that 1 can be so severe, whatever category you hit. For example, client come in, sexual case, she's 50 years old. That's the only thing she marked. She's 50 years old. But she marked 1 on the ACE, and it was in the box for the sexual abuse part, the sexual contact. She was still carrying it because nobody gave her permission. Nobody supported her. Nobody asked a question. It was swept under the rug. Let's not talk about that. But now she's dealing with depression, major depression. And what we don't understand, when those sexual encounters come in place, this is not my study, but research says most people that has some form of sexual abuse during their youth gonna end up being diagnosed with bipolar 1 or major depression, because they trying to get their mind shifting back and forth from not having to deal with the things that was done to them, not trying to cut off and detach themselves from that feeling or that scent or whatever that is that remind them and trigger them back to what that is. This stuff is serious. We have to be mindful. Just because it's a 1 don't mean that it's not severe. Then you have those that can be an 8, and they can be doing well, but timing matter when the trauma take place. what was happening when the trauma was taking place. Like I said, I have people that's a 6. They doing well because they acknowledge what happened. They ain't denied. He did this to me. She did this to me. Yep, my mama whooped me. They speaking and releasing that from them. They not carrying that. It's not about shaming and embarrassing the parents. Some parents just don't know, right? So what that impact? It impact our health. You see what it's showing? Obesity, diabetes, depression, suicide attempts, STDs, heart disease, cancer, stroke, COPD, broken bones. It hit the behaviors, smoking, alcoholism, drug use. Woo! I work in A&D and mental health. I can't do one without the other. I'm doing dual treatment, mental health and A&D, because I got to tackle the mental health in order for my client to get over and recover from the substance use. Because see, it's something that happened, that trauma, he was using or she was using pills, alcohol, spending, whatever an addiction was, they was using that. That's their way of coping. We don't know why people are doing what they're doing, but we have to ask some questions. What happened? Excuse me. Then the life potential. Kids dealing with something, we're not going to see them. Many of them graduate unless they get the help they need. Your kids' grades dropping. It's time to check it out. If they grades are just not where they may need to be for their age, we need to go check that out. Because that could be something that their child is harboring that's keeping them from learning. It's not all about them being bad. It's not all about them, they just acting out or they closed off. That's not the case. Then here are these negative outcomes that comes with this research. This ACE was done with 17,000 human subjects, but it was only done with the Caucasian race because at that time they wanted to say, hey, we can exempt ourselves from dealing with adverse childhood experiences. But the thing is, that wasn't true. What they did find out from doing the research, that's why research is so important. Those childhood experiences did not discriminate by gender, race, socioeconomic status, or your spiritual beliefs. Life happens. Once we can acknowledge that and accept that, we can start healing. None of us are not exempt from experiencing some adverse childhood experiences. So with adults, the ACE have been found to have a strong dose response association with, we just went over that. When I hear people say, oh, I just have bad headaches, then I start looking, seeing them gaining weight, and I'm not asleep. They have any sleep disturbances. I'm like, well, have you went check yourself, you went, sat and talked with somebody, maybe a therapist? Nah, for what? Ain't nothing wrong with me. You just verbalized that you having bad headaches and that you can't sleep. Gaining weight. But ain't nothing wrong with you. Them the lies we tell ourselves. Satan really getting busy tonight. This is what we see. High numbers in substance use. In general, poor health. Financial problems. You got parents making $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 an hour. You raising 3, 4 children off that one income. Them financial problems. Then their depression. Then you may go take something else to soothe that pain. Let me go have me 3, 4 glasses of wine every night. No, if you drink 3, 4 glasses of wine a night, there's a problem. With the children, this is what the ACE says that was found. It was with fair or poor general health, illnesses requiring a doctor, fair or poor dental health, lifetime asthma, ADHD, autism, being overweight or obese, and learning difficulties. Do y'all not know how many kids are being misdiagnosed with ADHD? My kid got ADHD. It may not even be ADHD. It can be some adverse childhood stuff that's happening, that's causing this child not to be able to focus, that's causing this child to constantly keep moving. It's not always ADHD. In addition, studies on ACE during childhood and adolescence have found an association between ACE and violent behavior. How many kids sent to alternative school? They just so damn bad. They so disrespectful. How many of them educators or leaders in whatever position you in? Son, come sit down and talk to me. What happened in your life? What's going on with you? We got to give our children permission to talk to us and stop shedding their story down because the narrative is not how we want the narrative to be, and the imagery is not how we want that imagery. See, we can have those distorted thoughts and make up a narrative about a person and an imagery in our head about a person. Our thoughts trigger our feelings trigger our actions, and our actions trigger consequences. That's when we start getting the behaviors, fall out with friends, fall out with whoever, because we done made this assumption in our mind. Same thing with children. We done made this assumption that this person's supposed to be X, Y, and Z, but then they showing up A, B, and C because we told ourselves that narrative. We painted that imagery in our mind of that person instead of, hey, what's going on? Tell me something about yourself. What is it that you like? That's how we start lowering the numbers on this ACE. We got to practice preventative measures. So this is why this is so important. Tying the ACE to the first 5 stages. It's more, Erickson had more than 5 stages of the human development. This is what I really want people in society to understand as adults, and especially adults working with children, so we can stop blaming this generation, these children. Oh, that goes up my spine. So I want y'all to think about this. 5 stages of childhood and all adolescence for all people. What that means is each and every last one of us in the womb until we came out to 18. Things gonna happen during these phases, period. Each stage includes social, intellectual, and physical changes, and people move through the stage at their own pace. And I'll tell you more about that. Each stage has a critical task to be resolved with desirable or undesirable outcomes. Outcomes of early stages affect later stages. This is why the first 5 stages of Erickson's human development is so important. We have to be mindful of what we're saying to these children. We have to be mindful of what we're putting around these children, because we are speaking poison into little children because we got the poison still in us. We hadn't cleaned it up. But I hope after tonight, you all would go discuss this with other people. So this is what this looked like. Infant. Birth to 2 years. Birth to 2 years. That's where we get this trust and mistrust. When you're dealing with adult right now that don't trust people, go back to the birth to the 2 years old. Something happened with that trust versus mistrust. Something happened. And this is the most important period in a child's life, as it shapes their view of the world as well as their overall personality. This from 0 to 2 is where we employ hope in our babies. So when we're talking about the children, these children, it's time for us to turn that mirror to ourselves and say, oh, wow, what did I do to my children between these ages? Was I cursing and drinking, smoking, not coming home, clubbing? But then now your kids of age, I'm the best mom there is. I don't know why they went to jail. Stuff that we did around them and didn't do for them, it impacted them at these early ages. Tyler, 18 months to 4 years. Instead of autonomy versus self-doubt. Independent versus shame. They focus on developing a greater sense of self-control. This is that willpower. When we give our children permission to explore and we teach them, when they start exploring and they go to the oven or to the socket, don't touch that socket. I'm gonna beat your bad behind. No, baby, that's not, come back. You just tap their hand. That's not safe. That's dangerous. That's not safe. And so you teaching them through that autonomy. You ain't building them that self-doubt. And you teaching them the independence. You're not shaming them. You're talking to them. When we shame them, they just bad, they won't listen. That's shame. We shaming our kids, 18 to 4 years old. Early childhood, 4 to 6 years old. That's that initiative versus guilt. Begin to understand and assert their power and control through play and social interaction. Bad and good. But this is the most important area of our children's life where they start finding their purpose in life. They doing a whole lot of exploring, like through play. They just exploring with different things, art, music, singing, dancing. They are exploring. And then some parents, if they are really, really attentive to their kids, they can start seeing, oh, my kid got a strength and my kid got a strength, an ear for music. Oh, man, my daughter, my son got some lungs on them. Get back there playing with the drum. Oh, he got some rhythm going with that drum. You giving them permission to explore. You giving them, they assert their power. Go ahead and do that. I just need you to be safe. But we don't give them permission. Middle childhood, 6 to 11 years old. Industrial and inferiority. Learn social interpersonal skills. Feelings of confidence, competency, capable of performing complex tasks. See, if we hurting our kids right here from 6 to 11, we're not teaching them because we shame them. See that low self-esteem and that confidence, we done knock that down because at 4 to 6 years old, we done call them bad, crazy. So when they get into this age, now they questioning what's happening. You know, they shine out from people. Hold your head up and talk. Well, when I was trying to talk to you when I was 2, mama, when I was 18, boy, shut up, you talk too much. Put his head down. She put her head down. Now you want them to hold their head up and talk to you. But you done forgot that you done shamed them when they was between birth and 4 years old. 4 to 6. But now at 6 and 11, you want them to hold their head up and have a level of confidence. But not understanding, yes, the stuff that you said to them or the stuff that you did not do for them, it impacted them during that time. Then we had an adolescent, 12 to 18 years old, identity versus confusion. This is where they explore independence and develop a sense of self. This is where that part where if we do and surround our children with some good stuff, doing the infant all the way down that middle childhood, our kids gonna be knowing who they are. I don't care what Betty Sue gonna be saying about my kid. My kid gonna stand their ground. Cause see, somebody in that child life between infant to middle childhood spoke some life and some love into that child, hugged on that child, told that child, look, I love you, you strong, you beautiful, baby. They don't, you know, you was feeding that plant. You was nurturing them. So when that stuff came, they knew who they were when they became 12 and 18 years old. So when you see people, they think they all that. No, baby, I was loved. I had people to tell me I was beautiful, telling me I was smart. I can do anything that anybody else is doing. I just got to practice every day if I want to be good at it. That's how we talk. But a lot of us wasn't taught that way. I'm guilty. I wasn't taught that way, but I had to reverse that thing. Nope, I'm not doing that with mine. Come on, beautiful. You know, your hair is absolutely pretty. Girl, you smart. girl, I like how you rocking that. And Lord knows I probably couldn't stand after she left out the house. But I had to let her explore. Let her find her own identity. I didn't want to paint an image of my child for who I am. I want her to grow and be who she is. See, God gifted her to me, but he hers. She belonged to him. I'm just here to help guide. Baby, that skirt just a little too short. You know, I want you to be mindful of whatever that is. Talking to him, oh, you looking like a little slut going up out of here. Whoo, Lord, the damage we do with that tongue. So adolescence is roughly defined as the stage of life between the ages of 11 and 19. There are 3 characteristics and critical tasks associated with adolescent growth and development, which are biological, social, psychological, and social. So I'm gonna break this down. This is what I'm saying. I hope parents and whoever dealing with kids, and if you decide you want to have kids, go ahead and do the work now, so you can have those preventive measures in place for your children. So that biological, that's that physical development of secondary sex characters, growth in height and weight, increase in hormone production, possible coordination problems due to rapid growth, development of sexual interests, development of muscular strength, that psychological component, here you go, confidence or self-image issues due to early or rapid physical development or lack thereof. Vast mood swings, intense feelings caused in part by hormonal changes, great highs and great depressions. So where are the grown people saying that kids ain't got nothing to be depressed about? But research just said our kids' mood gonna fluctuate. They're gonna have these mood swings. We have to be mindful about speaking this foolishness into the realm. And then we have to be mindful and rebuke that stuff when people speaking it over our children. If it's a lie, my child is exploring as she should be doing this level of development. She's doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing during this stage of growth. Thank you. Internal questions. Am I normal? What am I turning into? How am I like others? How am I different? Kids start asking these questions about themselves, unable to plan or think into the future. But we got grown folk. What you want to go to college for? What you want to be? They don't know. But now we force, well, she gonna be a lawyer. He gonna be a doctor. He gonna be a famous football player. Parents just took over the whole child, not even letting them develop on their own. They got to plan that out themselves. Right now, they don't know, as they should. Brene Brown said if her daughter told her she knew what she was going to school for, she wasn't paying for the college. She wanted her to go explore. And that's what she did, went and explored. Same thing I encourage my nephew, go explore, baby. You'll get it maybe the second or third semester, you good. Go enjoy yourself, just don't let the grades drop. At the beginning, cannot distinguish what is real from what is truly possible. Right and wrong, seen as either or nor or no in between areas. That's where they get their mama don't know what she talking about, daddy don't, they just don't want me to do nothing. They values and clarifications and development rejection of parental values in order to establish their own. My grown daughter today told me something I couldn't do nothing but laugh. See, I used to think my mom and daddy was crazy because my family was doing this and the people at school was doing this, but they the only people that weren't doing it. But now that she grown with her own child, now she, oh Lord, it wasn't my parents the problem. My parents wasn't the problem. I was trying to do stuff that was not age appropriate, even though other people were doing it. And even though grown people was giving their kids permission to do it, it didn't mean that it was the appropriate and safe thing to do. I try to stay away from the right and wrong and because I don't know somebody's story. So I use words as safe, appropriate, legal. I use those type words. So identity changes from day to day, friend to friend. Your kids gonna explore. Oh, they ain't your friend. No, that's our place to start teaching them the attributes and the characteristics to look like, but more importantly, we should be modeling that before our children. Role experimentation in order to find out who they are. Our saved and filled with the Holy Ghost people, that think they can just pray everything away. So when we get kids start exploring in the LGBTQ plus community, and they 14, 15, 16, research just said they role experimentation in order to find out who they are. I'm not saying that that's what we want them to be doing, but as an adult, let's have some sense of understanding and comprehension that at this state, they're going to explore, but let me teach them, not let me shame them. Sexual concerns occupy much of their attention. Sexual concerns occupy much of their attention. All you got is sex on the brain, girl on the brain, boy on the brain. And it's supposed to at this age. So these are some things with the social. Value issues leads to conflict with family and adults. Here we go with the parents and the kids bumping heads, because kids get their values from their family system. Need for alone time in their privacy. Peers are more important. Yep, they want to be around their friends, not their parents. Have adult bodies, but are not given adult responsibility. You got people, oh, she grown. She got this and got that, but she's not grown. She's still a baby. Love object, most important thing in the world. Right now, we know it's these phones and these social medias. That's what they're supposed to be doing at this stage. It's our responsibility as adults is to teach them how to maneuver around this stuff that they are now privileged to have and be exposed to. Teach them how to be safe with this stuff, how to use it in an appropriate manner. That's our responsibility as an adult. So to sit there and tell a child, you know, you ain't supposed to be doing that. Who sat down and talked to the kid about the safety precautions when you give your kid a phone at 12? And you know, that's a device to let in all the predators. How much did you go over with your child? Did you go and put all safety parental things on that phone to make sure? Because you already know your child mind is not developed to understand that I don't supposed to this. Well, you told me to respect the, yeah, but not this. We have to teach too. Separation from family, yet need for dependence. That just means they want their space, but they still need their parents. In efforts to gain a sense of personal power, they will challenge adults. Woo, yes. Both of my kids and my grandson, yes, they challenge, but they know they come from parents that challenge stuff too. Need to learn social skills. This is what I say, y'all. This is a lot of stuff. What does all of this mean? Unfortunately, research suggests that kids' brains found that toxic stress damages the structure and function of a child's developing brain. When they are overloaded with stress hormones, they're in fight, flight, and freeze mode. People, especially my educators, our babies cannot learn in school because some sitting at home not knowing if they're gonna go home and mama not gonna be dead or whatever because she probably an overdose or daddy didn't beat her. They mind ain't on no math. They mind is on the safety and the concern of their parent or what's going on with a sister and brother. Their mind is there, but we won't know if we don't ask. What happened to you? What's wrong right now? How can I help you? Utilizing those questions. They often have difficulty trusting adults or developing healthy relationship with peers, which simply means most adults get so mad. Unwell children become unwell adults. The very ones that's calling our children bad, they become unwell adults. So we have to do the work. And adults, we have to mirror what's appropriate, what's safe, what's appropriate, what's safe, what's legal. Because everybody's level of respect looks different. I'm big on integrity. So to relieve their anxiety, this is what happens. This is what we start seeing in grown people. Because see, us grown people hadn't dealt with the stuff. So now we got co-workers. Oh, girl, she crazy. Oh, he a mess. Oh, he this, he that, she this, she that. But this is why we hadn't dealt with some things that we didn't just put to the side because we guilty or embarrassed because somebody we love or respected neglected us or caused us some harm. And now here we are as an adult trying to protect the image and the being of somebody that hurt us when we was a child, when we couldn't even protect ourselves. When are we going to shift the role and put that back over there on them? You did this to me. You hurt me. You walk in this. But why I got to carry it in silence? And this is what happens when we carry it in silence. To relieve their anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, or inability to focus, they turn to easily available biochemical solution, nicotine, alcohol, marijuana, meth, or activities in which they can escape their problems. Here's something that people don't think about either: high-risk sports. Why they going hard on the football team? It ain't just because they like football. Get your children assessed to see what's happening. High risk of engagement and or involvement with some of the before mentioned. This stuff happens when these scores, overworking, multiple sexual partners. So when you seeing Betty Sue out there constantly cheating on her husband, that ain't got nothing to do with her husband. Betty Sue trying to run from some stuff. You see Bobby constantly cheating on his wife, Bobby constantly drinking, that ain't got nothing to do with his wife, Kim. He is trying to run from some stuff that he don't want to address on that ace. See, we got to stop running from our problems and covering it up with worldly things. It ain't gonna cover it up and just mask it and make us worse off. So sadly, the higher a person's ACE score, the higher their risk of engagement or involvement with some of the before mentioned. The cycle continues until we learn to acknowledge, admit, accept, get help, and apply appropriate and safe coping skills to live a calm, healthy, and peaceful life. That's what we have to do, y'all. But this is so important to me. Anybody that's living and serving in a marginalized community, you work there, you live there. This is what Dr. Jen Wright, and he dead on. We talk about PTSD, but none of us talk about PTSE, persistent traumatic stress environment. I grew up in Shade Oak Vernon Edition. I'm all day, every day, 833. So I grew up in that type of environment. So let's see what research has said with Dr. Jen Wright, who is an African-American psychiatrist. He said African-American youth often experience greater levels of stress, anxiety, and depression because of the lack of safety, economic opportunities, and the basic housing that are fundamental to their well-being. So if we got children going to school in rural areas, but they just so bad, they act like they can't learn, they don't want to learn. How many of you ever thought about some of this stuff, the stress, anxiety, depression, that they lack of safety at home? Not having the economic opportunities. There's no outlets in certain areas where kids to go explore. You got kids right now in the city of Jackson, you take them over to Madison, they think they're out of time. Just 20 minutes over from Jackson, they think they're out of time. I'm just saying. Researchers, practitioners, and policy stakeholders all confirm that persistent stress has a negative impact on learning, healthy behavior, and mental health. That is so true. Our people in marginalized community where we're not getting what is needed to live a decent life, to grow, to be successful. We hearing gun violence, people outside fighting, cussing, and we just, oh girl, that's just normal. They just fight, they'll be all right, they'll stop. That's not normal. But that's what happens. Our community is dealing with PTSD. Look it up, people. So for me, this is nothing for you all, but when I'm talking about that ACE, I look for several things: the deviance, the distress, the dysfunction, and the danger that triggered them in that state. If it's a 1 or if it's a 4 or 5, it doesn't matter. And then you're looking at the duration. Just because they hit the sexual abuse one time, but what if it been a sexual violation several times, multiple times? Not just with that one person several times, but then somebody else did it too. They only marked it one time, but we don't know how much took place, the frequency of that, the duration or the intensity of that. So that put that person on a severe level, and they just a 1 on the ACE. That's what I'm saying. You know, I hate we had to run through this because I don't want to take up y'all time, but I do want to open the floor for questions. And so I challenge you all to start moving on this land. Lean in with integrity, compassion, empathy, love, consistency, Lord God, grace, honesty, fairness, respect, and loyalty, when we lean in from a God-centered heart, we can implement these things around people, and we won't be leaning in because they did a bad act, don't make them a bad person. Honestly, we got a lot of people in leaderships that's hurting. When I say hurting, hurting like all outdoors and projecting that hurt on other people. You got educators going through burnout, emotional distress, not because of the kids, the leadership. You want to know why we got to take from saying, oh, the white people this and the black people this? No, let's talk about the body of the people. What's happening in the body of the people? That's what we have to start talking about. In the body of the people, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, you all. But the body of the people just mean that how can I serve my brother and my sister regardless of their nationality, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their belief system, regardless of how they identify with their pronouns? How can I lean in and still love on them? Because see, we can hate the sin and still love that person. But so many of us just despise the sin. It ain't even the sin. They despise some things within themselves. And that's just the God honest truth, y'all. Like, we despise so much about ourselves, we project it on other people, and then we try to gaslight them when we know we causing them harm, causing emotional distress, causing them to want to go even just, it's sad for people to have to contemplate suicide. It shouldn't ever have to get to that point with our children, let alone anyone. All people want is to have a feeling and a sense of belonging. But we got to start serving vertical first, then we can serve horizontal. So when we talk about what Madison County is doing, and when we're talking about what Hinds County, JPS, Rankin County, these different districts, what they're doing, check out the leadership heads. Meaning go check your school district leader. Who is the superintendent in charge? Let's go sit down. If we see it's working, let me put my pride to the side from Hinds County as the superintendent. Let me go over here and see if Madison County superintendent will talk to me and let me walk with he or she to learn what they're doing so we can go implement this stuff in our district with our children. Everything ain't always about money. It starts with love. I have people all the time, love, no, agape love. Agape love is intentional love that you're going to extend compassion and grace in spite of the sin somebody has committed, in spite of the wrong that they inflicted on you. People are hurting. When people come and they just in distraught and just, I was on a call nationally presenting on self-care to some educators. A very diverse, China, you mean all different places all over Dr. Mim, let me unmute you. Just share with us with the different areas of some of these educators was on that platform. Is Carol not on?
It took me a minute to get to unclear. Let me be very precautious about saying this, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Our teachers are suffering, and they're suffering mentally because of leadership. Nobody considered that they're dealing with COVID, they're dealing with unfinished learning, and then they have to deal with administrators who don't care. So our group is designed for a safe space because they don't feel safe in teaching. So how are they teaching? If they don't feel safe in their classrooms, how are they teaching? You got to ask yourself, an unwell person in the classroom with our children is not safe because they're going to project whatever they're going through, because that's their filter system, onto those children. Mm-hmm. And that's trauma. Mm-hmm. Sometimes teachers have said, and all of them work in a marginalized community, mm-hmm. meaning people of color. Okay. People of color are the leaders, and they're casting the same harm Toni is talking about, not only to our children, but the educators. And the reason why this is important for us to sit down and speak up when you see people being hurt by these folks is because you don't want unwell people teaching your children. I can say this many a time. Children trust people, then they learn. There's hard work or hard to process someone who is traumatized themselves. The trust will never be built. And who's suffering? Why is there an educational gap? I'm going to point back to what Dr. Jones said. It's there because we have people in leadership who don't care anything about the children, don't care anything about the people that they work for. And those people, the children, don't have a voice. The teachers don't have a voice. And when the parents try to voice their concern, they shut them out as well.
Thank you for that, Dr. Mims. And I'm say this because, you know, God's word tells us to speak truth to power. What I've had to learn and process over my growing and my learning from all components of learning is you speak to the spirit, not to the flesh. So when I say speak truth to power, I don't care what form of leadership you in. If you are in an area of influence, I don't care if that's an educator, a preacher, a teacher, a counselor, whatever area that you are of influence, you have a responsibility to yourself first to make sure that you are well. And then when you know you're not well, you got to start acknowledging that you're not well. And so, you know, this is the thing. Most people think that the abuse of power is just limited to one area. No, anybody that's given a role in leadership has a level of power. Some have not been taught how to govern that power. See, you govern the power is in the position, and the authority is in the position. The authority and the power and the control is not over the people. That's where we get it twisted from. That's when we having so many people hurting because we leading, we teaching, and we influencing with a power over, control over, state of being because we're not well inside. So unwell leaders, this is what anybody, even parents, we have a level of influence over our children. This is what I'm saying when kids say, well, don't cuss me. I'm grown. You don't tell me what to do. So now you didn't just train this kid because you think because you grown, it exempt you to say it's okay to abuse this child? No. That is not appropriate. It's not safe. It's detrimental to people. It really, really is. It scarred them. It does. And some haven't even been given permission to even express. You know what, mama, when you cuss me, that make me feel. I don't care how it make you feel. Oh, woo. See, all that shame. Until I got in this field, I used to think doctors and pastors was governed by a mighty, mighty, mighty power. Because so many people, that's where we go when we hurting, we go to the doctor. When we hurting, we go to our spiritual leader. But they human too. They hurt. Then I looked at, because that level of influence now, the doctor, the pastor, that level of influence. Then I had to look at the role of the counselor. Ooh, influence. You sit down, you influence. How you using your influence? Ooh, you're a principal. How you using your influence? Are you using your influence to break strongholds, or you to be the hoe? Are you hovering over them, or you letting them free to be creative to be safe, you're going to do it my way or no way. That's abuse. The use of power by leaders to oppress or to satisfy their needs and desires is wrong at any level. This effect of abusing power are more critical when it occurs among spiritual leaders and other authorities. But when you're not governed from a God-centered space or whoever your divine calling is, everybody around you is affected and become a victim, because we poison the people that we're supposed to be leading and serving, but we want to control them. You can't govern from a fixer saver. You govern from a helper. God didn't give us the power to control another human being. That's the plot of the enemy. We have to start listening to the people that's hurting. And I don't believe in the blame game. I say this, I don't care where I go. When people get to talking, I don't do blame. What's your role? What's our role? Because we all have a role. When we start blaming and excusing, we're no better than the person that's causing the harm. I don't want to be that person. And so I won't allow that to be in my space. Because what I do moving forward, it has to line up with God. I don't even care if it's my mom. If it ain't lining up, bag it back. Sister, line it up, bag it back. Because see, we have to live vertical first. Then we can live horizontal in a safe space. But when it's all about serving me first, do what I say because I'm your mom, I'm your dad, I'm your teacher, I'm your principal, I'm your district leader. That's a bad space to be in for anybody. And when they lead with a firm front and a soft back, what that means is they've been hurt and wounded so bad, and it's eating them up inside. All they know is to hurt other people. I know people that would disagree with me. We talked about this at a conference that I was in, and Dr. Dobbs, he said, hurt people hurt people. When it was over, I said, I got something to, I said, because the Holy Spirit hit me years ago about that. He said, sure. I said, see, God had to paint the image for me. Hurt people who have not healed hurt people. Because like God told me, I put my son, my only one, on land. He was abused. He was beaten, crucified. When he went up on that cross, he didn't say, blah, blah, beat y'all back. He said, Father God, forgive them for what they know, not what they do. So the man that gave his son that, he didn't, all the hurt he went against that was on him, he didn't go and return hurt. He extended love. Even when he went back home and got rejected, when Jesus went back home and got rejected, he just said, it's nothing I can do here for them. So let me dust and go on by my business and go somewhere else where I can be reserved to do my daddy work. So I just want to leave that with y'all. I'm going to open this floor for questions because my team and I already said it's time for questions. So I'm open for questions, y'all. I got a hand, a night. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, ma'am. It's Anaya. So currently I'm in the field of education right now. And I want to know, like, because I see this firsthand with the teachers, like they call the kids bad, they cuss them out. I had a situation where a teacher was actually recording a student and antagonizing him. And he was just screaming, having a whole tantrum. And so I want to know, like, how can we help those students who are in marginalized environments, who may have high levels on the ACEs as well? How can we help them to defy those odds, to know that they are not bad, to know that they are not these labels that people give them? I guess that's the question.
Okay. Awesome question. And the question is, if that's something that you want to lean in with, start doing and researching groups that teach. We meet once a month. I don't teach on this all the time, but reaching out to other people to get you equipped with the tools and the skills up to a level of competency where you can help those babies and not attack them, where you can go sit with them, because it's hard. But it's not like a one thing fix all, or oh, you just do A, it's gonna solve B. No, you got to have multiple strategies to work with these babies, because sometimes before you can, I don't care if they bad, mad, look, I'm serious. Grown people, whatever. I worked in a correction facility with kids. Whoo, Lord. And I'm talking about these kids, you know, they was hurting. But the staff around them, they just bad down. No. My babies cried when I left because I leaned in with a soft front with love and compassion, because I know something happened. Because I do that A song, I know something happened. Let's break through, let's work through this. But you got to be willing to say, I want to be able to do that. But if you're willing to do that, you also have to understand you're not the fixer, you're not the server, you're just the helper. So that means provide them with tools to be able to work even when somebody beating them up. Hey, you know you're beautiful, you know you're handsome, in spite of what they just said. Let me show you this. So it's like just building a tank. But see, you can't build a tank until you know you armor full with your tank. Because see, I don't want you to get in the district and you get burned out and end up with compassion, fatigue, distress, because you loving on these kids so much till you're hurting yourself now. So it's a lot of more that can go with that. Look, I even told people I'm open to even come teach at the schools, won't charge you a dime, because we need this. Our educators need to be taught what's appropriate. It's not just, here's the thing, this is my big thing. Adults can tell, no experience now on an IEP, if that child diagnosis, whatever that child did, if it was a manifestation from that child disorder. So if you then rub that kid the wrong way and that kid cussed you out, but that kid got ADHD, that kid dealing with some trauma. So now you done rubbed him wrong, he cussed you, y'all labeling him. And you saying that the behavior is not a manifestation from his disorder. But then you have no sound clinical judgment to say that because your feelings got hurt. There's no evidence, research, because impulsivity is real. When people complete suicide, that's ADHD, that impulsivity. If you score them, if they off the chain, they're gonna cuss you out, they're gonna just go shopping, go smoking. That's what that impulsivity do. That's why we have to teach. But when you don't know, we just say ADHD, we think that's bad. No, ADHD ain't got nothing to do with being bad. That just means it doesn't. It doesn't. So we need more hands-on social, emotional learning put in the schools for the children, but most importantly for the educators first, so they can deal with their own stuff. Because you got educators with an A score too that's high and just teaching and abusing kids because they can, because they had that power and that influence. So did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am, you did. And I would like to find out more information about like how we can receive training. Because I'm a current student at Jackson State right now, and I'm in the field of communicative disorders, and that's something that we have to work with. So I believe that that'll be necessary.
Okay. If you got that's my phone number. I'm just gonna say shoot a text and what it is that you're looking for. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna get to it at the end of the week. But sometime next week I'll respond and let you know that I got it. Or better yet, you can do the email. I do much better with email. And I could start providing you with some things to help move you to that journey where you can be skilled to be able to protect yourself and be able to protect the kids too. Okay. That email, send it to beautiful sister SS neat21@gmail.com. Is that correct, Neat?
I'm not sure.
Or you can use the beautiful SSSS@comcast.net. Beautiful SSS@comcast.net.
Dr. Jones, I can also
Come on, Ms. Davis.
I was just saying in the morning.
Say that again.
I can bring Anaya's contact information in the
Oh,
morning.
okay, great. Any more questions?
Yes, Dr. Jones, I have a question. When I was writing down like some of the things you were saying that they can incorporate in school, basically it was encouragement and implement positive affirmations into the school day. So would a good exercise for them be like I am bell ringers, where the students have to fill in the blank, but they can only use positive adjectives?
Yes, but the teacher had to be able, you got some school district that use social emotional learning tools. Dr. Mark Brackett wrote a book on permission to feel. That's the first resource if you like to read, to go to and grab some information. And what he does, he give you stuff to be able to help the kids to explore their feelings and be okay with it. Because anger, people think anger is a bad thing, but it's not. It's what you do with your anger that make it an unhealthy thing. Because there are good things to anger. Because somebody can make me mad to do something, just make me want to go ahead and finish this doctoral program. Because you're doing this stuff. So that way, that anger, there's healthy anger too. It's all about letting them know that's just a normal human emotion. We just have to teach them. Any more questions? I'm gonna put these books, I'm gonna shoot this stuff out and get it hopefully on the face on my personal page as well as Beautiful Sisters Strengthening Sisters page. So you all can have that. Any more questions? We are meeting next month too. It will not be Facebook. I was trying with this one with Facebook, it just didn't work. But God work's still gonna move forward because somebody gonna give a platform where it's gonna be able to be exposed. So any more questions? Because I sure appreciate you all's time joining in with us. And I encourage you to just lean in with compassion and grace, even with the ones that's hurting and disrespecting you, because they need love too. Some of them don't even know what it looked like.
And Dr. Jones, with that, do you have any tips for anyone that maybe the ACE triggered anything, or like later in the week it may bring out topics and discussions to kind of just help them decompress after finding out this information?
Mm-hmm. Journal your thoughts. List out the why, the what, and the how. And if it's triggering some things, I have licensed professional counselors that I know that are good at what they do. And then I have also nurse practitioners, psych nurse practitioners that's good at what they do too. I have those listed. So if you want to work with a really good therapist, and sometimes when we get in therapy, we may need, some type of psychotropic meds to help boost us, and that's okay too. I put people down that I know just not a script writer. I put people down that's going to sit and be with you if you do have to have that part of therapy, which is an integration with the medical, with the medicine, along with the talk therapy. If you have to have both of them to get you to your best self, that's okay. So the people that I put on this list that's going to be posted, these are people that are truly about the healing of God's people. They're going to sit with you. It's just like I'll come in and say, how the medicine treat you? Are you fine? No, you're going to sit there for 45 minutes to an hour, just like you sit with your therapist, because they want to make sure that it's working for you, not working against you. So I did put those names of those therapists and those nurse practitioners. So that'll stuff will be posted too. So if you have anything that's triggering you, just journal it out. because I know that it will. I saw it firsthand trigger individuals. And I know it's a lot of material because it usually take me, like I said, 3 hours, but I just know 3 hours on a Zoom like this, it's not. Any more questions? I just want to give a shout out to Ashanti, my baby Dominique, and Carol, because y'all are educators, and other educators that's on this call. Look, I appreciate the work that y'all do. I know it get challenging, very much so. I know people that made up their own narrative and their own imagery of who they think you are. But stay in the focus frame of who you know God has designed you to be. And keep doing the work. If it get heavy, y'all got my contact number. Reach out to me. Because we have to have a team that we can go and release some of this stuff too. I'm a therapist with a therapist. I support therapy. I don't support the ones that's just strip writers or the one just, I don't do that one. You know, because I've witnessed my baby get emotional, caught in some stuff because of spirits that's not well. I witnessed Dr. Mims get caught up in some stuff because the spirits are not well. And when spirits not well, when they don't want to shine the light inside, they're gonna go for the low. And they're gonna do everything in their power to destroy the person that is challenging them to go in. If that means scandalizing your name, because they don't want the imagery on them, because they don't want to look within. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna attempt to silence your light. Y'all educators, keep your light bright. Don't let nobody dim your light. That's not of God. That's of man. And then it's certain things you got to ask yourself. If you in these positions and it start impairing your emotional being, your peace, you got to walk. Because now you done let go of your self-worth and gave it over to man. And can't nobody govern that but God. You can't stay somewhere where you're not welcome and appreciated. You're only gonna be hurting yourself. Regardless of how much you love them kids, you got to love yourself first. And do the work from another way to help the kids. My first degree was in education. I saw the stuff. My personality too bold to be in a system like that. Our systems in school are jacked up. Our kids need help. And when you talking to them, we just in a training. We just talking. But I sat in a meeting. They want kids to respect them. These educators are adults, but they don't even have the decency to even respect the kids. But they can't get a respect when they don't have a respect for themselves. It's not even really about the kids. This is about people, how we treat each other. When you love yourself, you ain't gonna disrespect other people. When you love yourself, you're not gonna misuse or abuse anybody, regardless of how you differ in your religious belief, your race factor, your gender factor, whatever that is. When you love you, there's no way you're gonna mistreat anybody. Because hurt people don't hurt people. It's hurt people who have not healed hurt people. Because I done been hurt, but I ain't walking around here hurting people. So that's why I don't agree with hurt people. Because then that's telling me that my daddy went on that cross and he hurt other people as they were hurting him. Jesus didn't do that. So hurt people don't hurt people. It's the hurt people who has not healed and processed through the hurt that hurt them that's hurting people. See, when I got to cuss you out so strong, I'm hurting inside. If I got to misuse you and abuse you, I'm hurting inside. A lot of times people gonna keep hurting because somebody hadn't been given the strength. And I'm saying you don't have to. But sometimes God will put a person in position and make that your assignment. You got to stand toe to toe with that person that's hurt. Because I done gave you the anointing and the power to help unravel that onion so they can heal. But don't take stuff on when God didn't give you that assignment. Because I can say this, our kids are hurting. I don't care if it's private school or public school. They hurting. They are hurting. I got hurt and it was hard on me last night. Baby's reaching out. My baby ain't in the district no more. But these kids reaching out, they hurting. They hurting. And the hurt ain't coming from children. It's coming from the head. It's coming from adults. Because we have to heal. And it's okay to say, look, I need to take 30 days to break for a little while. That's all. It's okay. We all human. We all gonna go through some rough patches. And even when we know we're not willing, fail, and well, and we still push through, let your team at work know, look, today is just not really a good day for me. I'm gonna need your help a little bit. Give yourself permission to let people help you. You ain't got to do it by yourself. God didn't call you to be a fixer or a savior. That's his job. We just here on land to help assist him. So, y'all, I thank y'all for joining. I know I held y'all long. I just appreciate y'all time for even staying on. So please go about, if you're feeling some kind of way, take a moment. If you drink warm tea, drink you some warm tea. If you take a bath, soak with a little Epsom salt, a little vinegar, relax, light a candle, put on some music and dance it off. Dance it off. Because having rhythms, it releases stress. Dance it off. And connect. If you need to get out here and just connect with somebody else and help process it, give yourself permission to be honest with yourself. I thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank my team. Thank you, Frida. Thank you again, Nick. I appreciate y'all for helping me out. I really, really do. Y'all,
And
I'm gonna close.
thank him. He looking kind of sideways because you didn't hear his name.
Okay, hey Alexander, let me close y'all off with a prayer right quick. Y'all would go with me with this prayer. I would greatly appreciate it because I don't want to leave y'all without closing out in God's word. So if you open to receive a prayer, please, God, do your will, do your way. If not, you're free to leave, but I just want to close us all out with prayer, those that's still here and that's willing to receive the prayer. God, help us draw closer to you and your word so that in difficult times, we will be mindful of your comfort and justice to lean in with y'all. We got to lean in. We got to lean in with a firm back and a soft front. Govern from a heart grounded in you, Lord, with compassion, empathy, grace, and integrity, kindness, and your agape love, Lord. I pray all of this, Lord, that I just spoke, Lord God. I pray it all in your son, Jesus' name. You all, I pray you have a calm evening. And yes, did I hear somebody speak before I close out? Was there a question before I close out?
I think she said amen.
Okay. All right. Good night, everybody. And thank y'all again.